Is this possible that John Fisher shot himself in the foot, that he tried to strip this thing down to the studs in Oakland, and now because the team is so bad that now in Vegas that the baseball fans there, the taxpayers there don't have much of an appetite to pay public money for a bad baseball team?
Yeah, see, I think this was a grand miscalculation by the A's, because if you had a really good team, something that actually excited people, people might actually want that team. Like, they might be clamoring for that team, but they stripped this team down to the studs right before trying to secure a deal either in Oakland or Las Vegas, which was a terrible move because no one wants the A's right now. And they've driven away all the fans. They've stripped the roster down to the worst in baseball. And now they're saying, oh, we got this great product. Come give us all your free money, Vegas. And it's just not a great sales pitch. You see a lot of stadium building. When that happens, the teams are good. They try to have a really good roster and to entice the public into signing off on these large deals. The A's did the opposite approach, and it sort of speaks to the desperation of the franchise and the unwillingness to spend any money by A's ownership.
Casey Pratt, ABC 7 in the Bay Area. What's the timeline on getting things done in Vegas? Because right now the clock is ticking on this binding agreement for this new site at the site of the Tropicana as well, right? I mean, this is far from a done deal.
Yeah, so it's an interesting timeline in that by the end of this month, and very, very soon, they need to have legislation drafted to try to even get the A's the money they want in the first place. If they don't get that, they're going to have to go into a special session. Well, they're already asking for $395 million of public funds. And if they go to a special session, that's something that's going to cost taxpayers money too, probably like $10,000 a day. At this point, the taxpayers are going to be like, okay, at what point does this stop, right?
So the clock is ticking. They've got to get something drawn up by the end of the month or call a special session just for this. Let's just say that doesn't happen. Does that take us back to square one, or do you think the A's still have motivation to keep trying to get it done in Vegas?
I think they keep pushing in Las Vegas until they have a firm answer. What they haven't really had this entire time when they were dealing with Oakland, there was always the specter of the parallel path in Las Vegas, but they never really had a firm answer. Like, what did Las Vegas actually mean to the Oakland A's? At this point, they're trying to rush to get that answer, and everything appears rushed and feels rushed at this point, and because it is rushed. But they're going to try to find out what their actual answer is out there, because if they strike out in Las Vegas, the only option they have is to try to come back to the table in Oakland, and they've really burned that bridge in a large way. So at this point, I just don't see it. I think if they strike out in Vegas, they're going to have to entertain selling the team.
And then it's a different dynamic, right? Because when you say they burn bridges in Oakland, would the city have patience and willingness to work with new A's ownership?
Yeah, so I've asked about this the second this thing went down and went south here. The city would absolutely be willing to work with the new A's ownership. In fact, they even said that they'd be willing to take the call from the current A's ownership, which is hard to believe after everything that's happened, but they would. So, yes, if a new owner came in and bought this team, the city would absolutely be willing to work with them. And furthermore, if the new ownership came in, they could scale down this project at Howard Terminal and make it a whole lot easier to build. The project at Howard Terminal for the A's currently was stadium, residential, commercial real estate, public parks, all these other things. If you just built a stadium, maybe a hotel, maybe some bars and restaurants around it, and then scaled up in later phases, this thing could have been done a lot quicker.
So that's been the ruse here as Casey Pratt, ABC 7 of the Bay Area, joins us, is that John Fisher's ownership team with the Oakland A's said, we need massive multi-use development all around the ballpark. So we need land, and we need hotels, and we need bars and restaurants. Well, he's gone to Vegas, and now they've been shoehorned into a little 5-acre lot, and they can't have mixed-use development. So now, what does that say about that needing to be the priority if the A's basically are not going to get that even if they go to Vegas?
Yeah, you're really spot on that, Damon. That's why you're the best. That's why I want to come on the show and talk to you all the time. They really did say in Oakland they couldn't afford to build the stadium and support the team without all the residential and commercial real estate to support the development. And in Vegas, it's just one 9-acre ballpark site. That is it. Any ancillary development will be the Trop or Bally Sports to do. And so it's kind of funny to see them say that they had to have all this stuff in Oakland on the waterfront, and now in Vegas, they have none of it. It's a really interesting thing to look at, but it does tell you a lot about their motivations in Vegas, because in Vegas, here's what they are getting, though: waived relocation fee, free land on the Strip, some other development money's coming in, and hopefully that $395 million in tax dollars. So yes, they can now just build a ballpark, a tiny little ballpark on the Strip, because they're getting all these handouts as well. So it's an interesting thing to look at.
Where is the money coming from to flesh out the rest of the ballpark? They want to build a $1.5 billion ballpark, and at best they would get $400 million from Vegas and Clark County. Where is John Fisher coming up with a $1.1 billion to build the rest? Is that out of his own pocket?
Hopefully loans. And if you look at what was going on in Oakland, the stadium in Oakland would have probably been cheaper because it didn't need a retractable roof or a dome. In Vegas, it does actually need a retractable roof or a dome. I don't even know if you can put a retractable roof on 9 acres, but that's another problem for the engineers and ballpark developers if they ever get them. So yeah, they would probably have to finance that. And I know you may have seen this. I tweeted it out, and a great person, Vitamin D on Twitter, if you look him up, he actually did find that the A's have loans taken out against both the Oakland Athletics franchise and the San Jose Earthquakes franchise. So John Fisher's already borrowed against the totals of both of his pro sports teams. So I don't know how easy it'll be to get loans, but he is supposedly a billionaire. So there's always that.
Supposedly, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Give me your crystal ball here, Casey. You followed this story longer than anybody. You've got boots on the ground in the Bay Area. You know the ups and downs, the ins and outs. What's your most likely scenario for how this all unfolds?
So I think that if I had to handicap this, I'm still leaning in Las Vegas's favor, as much as that pains me as a Bay Area person to say it. And that's a credit to Las Vegas. It's a credit to Nevada lawmakers, because they have a get-to-yes attitude about things. They like to try to find a way to make a deal, try to find a way to get things built. It's a lot tougher to build in Oakland. It's a lot tougher to build on the Oakland waterfront even. So I'm going to go ahead and give Vegas the edge, not because of the A's and John Fisher and Dave Kaval's success, but because of the way they try to approach getting things done in Las Vegas. But this is a big but. Keep in mind, things are not going well out there, and they don't have a lot of time. So there are a lot of things that could derail this at this point for Las Vegas, but I have to give them the edge because the ball is in their court currently.
Best case scenario for Oakland keeping the A's would be that it falls apart in Vegas, and that forces Major League Baseball to say that these bozos, Cavill and Fisher, can't get their act together. We've got to force them to sell, maybe to a Joe Lacob or something like that in the Bay Area, and Bay Area keeps the A's, new ownership, and then maybe an expansion team goes to Vegas?
That is the absolute dream scenario, I think, for Oakland and Las Vegas, because people in Las Vegas are now seeing how the A's current ownership comports itself, and they're very turned off. And I think people in Oakland have seen for many, many years how this current ownership group comports itself, which is why there's so many empty seats and protests going on, sell signs all over the place. They want the team sold. So if a new owner could come in here, stop embarrassing Oakland, stop embarrassing Las Vegas, get a new owner in Oakland, get an expansion in Vegas. I think that's what everybody truly wants, because at some point, I can't believe Rob Manfred's going to let this charade go on any longer.
Whenever I speak about this or tweet about it, inevitably I get a crowd of folks that say, well, the Raiders and the Warriors left the Bay Area anyway. Nobody wants to be in Oakland. Oakland sucks. It's dirty. There's no money there. That's why everyone's going to Vegas. And people point the finger at Oakland. And I feel like that's a bunch of people that have never been there that just kind of want to paint Oakland as the villain. That makes it an easy story to go from A to Z. Tell me the reality of how this folds into losing the previous two teams, or is different than the previous two situations.
Yeah, I'll try to sum it up real fast. So the Raiders got $750 million in public funds from Las Vegas. They were never going to turn that down. It would be insane to do that. And the A's were blocking any plans they could have had at the place they currently played. The Warriors had the territorial rights for the entire Bay Area, something that the Raiders and A's have never had. If you're going to build a brand new sparkly arena, if you have the option to do it in San Francisco, I hate to say it, but land is more valuable there. The Warriors went to San Francisco. Both of those situations, I don't see any way you can put that on Oakland. The A's situation is different because they actually have waterfront property, 55 acres, a lot more than 9 that they're getting on the Strip. The city of Oakland has come up with $375 million in offsite funds already for the A's. That's more than Vegas is offering right now. Plus, the city and county has offered to help pay for the on-site, the area where the ballpark would be, the infrastructure there as well. They'd reimburse the A's. So Oakland at this point has come up with far more money than Las Vegas is even offering, more than that $395 million that they could possibly get in Vegas. And yet, the A's have still walked away.
And that right there is the exclamation point on this. Whenever somebody says Oakland has screwed another team up, another situation up, think about what Casey just said. All of those things are check marks in the box of Oakland, and the A's have ignored that and just, I don't know, bamboozled their way into Vegas for more free stuff. But it's not the fault of Oakland. To me, that's my biggest disappointment here, is that people are they're mischaracterizing this as Oakland's a flawed community and so the A's have to leave, versus what you just said is Oakland has stepped up and the A's are just, they're conning everybody out of more free stuff in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what the A's asked Oakland to do. Oakland did all that. The problem is there was a global pandemic and inflation and construction costs went up through the roof. And so everything went way beyond what the A's asked Oakland to do, and Oakland kept raising money. So at this point, they've done what they were asked, but how do you make a deal with somebody that doesn't want to commit? And so far, that has been the big story of the A's situation here. John Fisher is afraid to commit. He didn't want to commit in Oakland. He didn't want to commit to a site in Las Vegas. You saw he finally committed to a site in Las Vegas, the Wild Wild West site, right at the end of the legislative session when they were already telling him, dude, you've got to pick a site. You've got to pick a site. So what did he do? He finally picked a site. 20 days later, he picked another site. So at this point, it's a big problem with commitment, I think.
Yeah, I think John Fisher has a problem with commitment. I would say that's a good way to describe it. Casey Pratt, ABC 7 of the Bay Area. My man, I know it's early for you. Thanks so much. You look good for 6:32 in the morning, so you're doing something right.
I woke up a little early just to get ready for you, Damon. You know, I had to bring the best for your show, your listeners, and, you know, we always like coming on here and talking, and everybody's really excited for this, so I had to try to bring it.
It's the healthy Bay Area lifestyle that you're living that's doing well for you. By the way, the walkout is coming, right? We have the reverse protest coming from A's fans in a few weeks.
Yeah, the reverse protest is scheduled for June. I think it's going to be interesting, June 13th. And can they pack that place? Will they pack that place? And how crazy is it going to be if they do pack that place and start doing their 8th inning little stroll around the Coliseum with their cell chants? It's going to be crazy.
I love it. I love it. Watch for the reverse protest as A's fans pack the building to show ownership. We are here. We want to root for this team, but you guys are a bunch of crooks. I love it. Casey, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.